Hello, everybody. As you're coming into the room, very nice to meet you, even though I can't see you. Gosh, it would be nice to see faces one day. We'll get there. We will get there. I know we'll get there. I hope you all are well today. Feel free to pop over in the comments, if you can see the comments section of your screen. If you are able to confirm that you can see, hear, you can see and hear me, but you can also see the slide pack, that would just be a great confirmation before we get started. We've got quite a few people registered for today, actually. We've got over 40 people. So we've been running a bit of a book on how many we think are going to turn up today. Anyone? It would be great for anybody just to acknowledge, hey, Minx, thank you. Excellent. Thank you. That's all I was looking for, to make sure everything is technically working very well. Hey, we've got 20 people in the room. Well, I bet I said we have 40. So for those entering, oh, you guys, thank you very much. Hello, James. Right. This is great. Thank you all very much. So just before you guys came in, we were saying, oh, there's 41 people registered for today. And we were kind of saying, well, how many do we think will turn up? Because you kind of, you get all these people registered and you don't, things happen, life gets in the way and you don't always turn up. We were like, I thought, 15, I don't know, but it's a Tuesday. Who knows what it's going to be like? Someone put 25. We're almost there. Anyway, it is so good that you guys have come along today. We are talking social media 101, really the basics. And I'm just kind of interested to see from the people that are in the room, like, is Tuesday a good day to do one of these things? Tuesday lunchtimes, it would be good to get a bit of an indicator. I reckon we've got a full, we're not full house, but I think people will continue to come along. We're a couple of minutes in. I might jump in, but if you've got an opinion, Tuesday, is it a good day to do some learning? It would be interesting to know. Yes. Helene is saying yes. Okay. I actually don't mind a Tuesday. Monday is just like, oh my God, I've got to get myself sorted for the week. But Tuesday is just like, yeah, I'm a bit organised. By Friday, everything, any kind of organisation is out the window. Anyway, John's saying perfect. Hey, Oz is saying is perfect as well. Well, apparently Tuesday is the way to go. Very good. Thanks, guys. Anyway, shall we get on with it? Let me just jump into some of the formalities while people are coming along. So you guys are here because you're part of the AEST program. It's a fantastic program in terms of online learnings like this. Sometimes we even do them face-to-face when we can. There's a heap of online materials available as well. And you can also do one-on-one mentoring with digital experts like myself. So you can get up to 4 hours, 2-hour blocks that cost just $25 for the 2 hours. So it's an exceptionally good program, I have to say. So if you have not taken advantage of mentoring, then you should do so. Okay, so we are today talking social media, right back to the basics, okay? So what I'm going to really attempt to do today is give you the potted summary of everything that you need to think about around getting social media working as a good marketing tool for your business. So we're going to cover what is social media. Trust me, it's like, seconds worth of content there. But really what you need to get started, things to think about, content is kind of really important if you're going to be doing social media marketing. Some tools to get started and how you might go about that, and most importantly, how to choose your social media platforms. So we're going to actually run through all of the social media, kind of the smorgasbord of offerings there, so that you've got a bit of a look-see. And I've got some resources, links, those types of things that you can then go away and do a little bit of reconnaissance based on what your business is and what's going to suit you. Because, of course, social media, there is no one-size-fits-all, right? Every business will have a different flavour, so to speak. Okay, so, and I might just say this is a 1 hour, so let me just finish off. Oh, that's what we're going to cover. Let me introduce myself before I go any further, because otherwise I forgot. Hello, Catherine. Very nice to see you. Okay, so my name is Kiri, and I do marketing for businesses. So I kind of operate in this troubleshooting, sorting, fixing, optimizing territory. I run programs for businesses, but we're kind of really focused on what's working, what's not, and really driving results-based performance. And I've been doing this for a very long time across all of the different channels, because, you know, my favorite saying is that it's never one single thing when it comes to marketing. It is multiple touch points. And how do you pull those together for the best kind of bang for your buck and time and resources and things like that? Anyway, that's me. I had a slide in here for housekeeping and I seem to have taken it out, so I apologise. Let me just cover off a couple of very important things, because some of you will ask. Number one, this slide pack and all of the notes, this is going to be emailed to you after the session, and there's also a recording of this. So if anything happens and you lose connection, or for some reason you can't stick around right to the end, there'll be a recording of it that you can dip back into and be able to see. Or if you just want to go back and listen to anything that I happen to have said that you thought, oh, I want to have a listen to that again, well, I can only hope that there will be valuable content for you. So recording, notes will be sent to you. And if you see me looking over here, I'm not being rude. I'm not looking out the window thinking, it's looking like a nice day. This is where my chat is. Please, I really encourage you to ask questions as we go along, although we only have an hour, so I'll try to kind of, I'll be pretty brief in the way that I move through, because I've got a lot of content. But please throw any questions that you might have into the chat, and I'll keep an eye on it over here and answer them. And by the way, Francisco from the Melbourne Innovation Centre, who are running this, is also online. You may not know or see him there, but if you have any kind of technical issues, please just put something into the chat box and he'll jump in and try and technically troubleshoot for you. Okay, let's get into it. What is social media? Okay, I think all of you know what social media is, but I want to define this for you today, because it's pretty important when you're thinking about, how do I use this for my business and to market myself? So social media is literally, it's a collection of people coming together and interacting in a digital environment in some way, shape or form. So people coming to communicate, interact, to share content, etc., etc. It is fundamentally about people interacting, relationships being fostered, or, real life relationships kind of continuing in the online space. It is about conversations. It is about content. And this quote down the bottom, which is, organizations don't tweet, people do. It is very true. And this is just, it's food for thought around the fact that using social media as a really blunt one-way marketing tool to kind of, I've got this to sell, how about it? Actually, quite often, well, I'm just going to say, is probably just going to fail. Okay. So you do need to approach it slightly differently. And I also want you to think about the fact that your customers, the people that you are trying to sell to, in the social media context, they are going to be not your customers. They are going to be people who are commenting on topics or themes or things that they agree with, things that they disagree with. There will be cheerleaders in there, people that love to see great stuff, people that love your brand and want to engage and interact with it, collaborators, looking to, engage with you and answer questions if you've got content of worth and of interest to them. It can even be co-creators, critics. Hello. Social media is just full of a critic, that anonymization of, well, I can say whatever I like and it doesn't really matter. We know that, social media brings this out in people. And then, of course, there are people on there that just have a conscience and want to kind of engage with the things that are really important to you. The point about this slide is your customers are not your customers in the social media context. You have to try and really get into the psyche of what channel are they on, but what are they doing there and what do they enjoy? And what's the intersection with your brand? So it actually is going to be worthwhile your time and effort to do this, okay? So again, food for thought. When it comes to social media marketing, it really is about driving traffic through or conversions of some way, shape or form. If you're just in it to grow following, then I'm kind of going to say, is that what you're really wanting to do as part of your business? We need a little bit of common sense here. So, quite often when we make a list, our list of why should we be on social media, well, it's got a role to play in your marketing. Well, yeah, it can do, absolutely. Although every business will have a different take as to what kind of social media and how much social media and how important it is to you. Certainly there's an element where some, not all of them, some of the social media platforms can contribute to your search. SEO is search engine optimization. And so Google can actually index some of your content and your profile. LinkedIn is a classic for that in terms of surfacing you and things that you are talking about. Certainly it's a great way to have conversations with people. It's kind of omnipotent. Everyone tends to be on some social media platform or not, although I'd be interested, is there anyone in our audience today who does not have a social media account of any kind? It'd be interesting to know, just a pop survey to put it out there. Certainly, once you get your head around a few kind of core pieces around social media and how they slot into your audience and your offering, then actually it's easier than you think. And if your competitors are using it, then it kind of means that actually you may need to be on there in terms of just shoring up and making sure that you're not losing out to people that at least being far more visible than you are. And so, can you afford not to? Well, all of these things are kind of really important. But again, I urge all of you to really ask the fundamental question of what is your why in terms of social media. If it's just because someone said, oh, you've got to be on social media, that's not good enough, right? You've got to directly relate. We want results, right? We want to directly relate it up to and draw the line to what do you want to achieve with social media? If you're going to invest time and money into social media, then is it to literally generate leads and sales? Is it about post-sales servicing and retention, of which I always say this is actually quite often a boon for businesses. They don't pay enough attention to it, but actually the right kind of strategy, that post-sales love activity in the social media space can very much lead to new people discovering in the social media because of the amplification of people kind of sharing and talking about you as a brand. And certainly brand awareness, although a lot of people kind of don't focus on that from a small business perspective. But you see what I'm saying here, don't you? Which is really be clear on why you are using social media. It's not about gaining followers. It's not about how many likes you're getting. It's not about the fact that someone said you should be on social media. You need to have that clear kind of strategy in your head, because otherwise you can just be going around in circles and getting frustrated with no results. Now, the next thing I really want to talk about is kind of the 5 C's of social media. So to me, this is like a maturity. It's like a maturity pyramid, although it does kind of, reverse cycle, but it doesn't quite look like that. The thing is, you need to have if you have each and every one of those items on there, content, capturing, conversion, conversation, community going, then you have reached full maturity. You've kind of unlocked the sweet sauce, the secret sauce of social media. To just focus on content means that you're just focusing on a one-way conversation. If the content is not good, then you are not capturing people's attention in their feed. So remember, the whole point of generating content is to create conversation, but the first thing it has to do is pause that thumb, that kind of like stop the browsing through the feed and get them to pause to pay attention to it. And from there, what are they doing? What do you want them to do? What's the conversion point? What's making it sticky? Is it a visit to your website? Is it signing up for something? Is it just engaging with your content in order for them to learn more? That might be as simple as watching a video to educate themselves on your particular business. And then how do you create conversation? And ultimately, how do you start to create community? Because that's really where you start to gain great traction with social media, right? Okay, so let's just jump into it. So I should have warned, this is 1 hour and we're going at a cracking pace. Which channel? So really, if you're getting into social media and you've got a clear view of this is why I should be using it, then you need to make the decision of which channel or which social media platform you need to be using for your business. So here's a bit of a kind of an overview. I updated these stats just this week, so they're pretty fresh. I always find the stats around, this is specific to Australia, I should say. It's not users all over the world. It's just in Australia. What I find really interesting is, I introduced these. We previously haven't really chatted much about Snapchat and TikTok, but you know what? the thing is that TikTok gets how much attention, yet the penetration in Australia is tiny. So I find that interesting. Anyway, these are just to kind of get your head around, you know, the potential scope of your audience, depending on which platform is going to be best fit for you. I'm going to flip through all of these towards the end, so you've got a good reference for trying to understand the different platforms and whether or not they're a good match for you. But these are some, I'm going to just say, key thoughts for you to ponder, which is, rather than trying to be on every platform, figure out which is the best one for you and your business. And it's better to do a great job on a specific social media platform than to spread yourself too thin. Generally speaking, when we're saying, yes, Christy's just asked, are you getting a copy of these slides? You most certainly are. They're going to be sent out along with a recording at the end of it. Now, sorry, coming back to the slide. So we generally recommend, when you're getting started with social media, rather than trying to do everything across all platforms, pick the best platform that's the best fit for your audience, really master it, get it working for you, and then introduce the second channel, and then the third if it's appropriate, right? That's where you're kind of starting to scale and get different audiences coming in. Trying to do it all to start with. Time, you know, social media, it is a truism. I don't think anyone can deny it. It just really sucks up your time. It is like this black hole of, where did my time go? I was just doing a post, right? You have to be really honest about the time that you have. And so therefore it has to be part of the equation. If you decide that social media is the primary marketing channel for you, but you haven't actually got the time to drive it, then do you have the money to pay someone to help drive it? Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You have to be really honest about these things. There's this kind of degree that we have to be pragmatic in so much as there's a long list of everything that we could be doing to market ourselves, but we still need to be honest around what can we really do well that's going to get us the best return. So it's kind of like, you know, this bit of a filtering through to the honest moments and finding the sweet spots for you and your business. And then, of course, you need to kind of really get your head around who your audience is, like who is your potential customer or client, their demographics, as in how old, their gender, location, all of those types of things, and which social media platforms are they using. When you know that, then you can actually start to hone in and understand which platform is going to be the best choice for you. I'm going to show you how to do that, by the way. And also, what for your content, understanding whatever it is your business is and what you're talking about, where's the best fit for that in terms of the online culture matching the social media platform. Like if you're a serious B2B business, kind of talking about, you know, something quite complex as a service offering to B&B, I'm going to say that getting yourself onto TikTok may not be where it's much lighthearted and a bit fun and, you know, those types of, you can kind of get, it's a mismatch. But I'm just giving you an example how online culture and your content, you want to be talking the right kind of things to the right kind of people. Otherwise, remember what I said at the top, people on social media are not your customers. They are people using social media. You have to work out how to, you know, find a way to start that conversation with them. Right. So getting into choosing a platform for you. So these are two very good, trustworthy stats sites for you to go and investigate different platforms just from a demographic perspective to really understand where your audience is from a demographic perspective. So this is based on Australian stats, and this second one, Pew Research, gives you global stats as well, and that's just an extract of it. There's some pretty granular data there, but it's the first step in understanding which social media platform for you. There are some truisms that we can kind of say, you know, Facebook has more engagement from older female audiences, but you know what, sometimes, you know, there are always exceptions, there are always niches, and depending on, it's never that simple, it's never that black and white, I'd like to say. Okay, the other thing is, of course, you need to know your audience, right? So one of the best ways to work that out is to look at your competitors. So just go through and each of the platforms and just literally ask yourself the questions. Well, are they active on this platform and are they getting engagement, right? Those are the key things that you need to be really understanding. So really, as a part of that kind of, do they get engagement? I should just explain engagement. What does that mean? Engagement means that people are interacting with their content. They're liking it, they're sharing it, they're commenting it, all of those types of things. And you can get, It's not always possible, but you can get a gauge from that just by looking at individual pieces of content. You can even do a calculation where you tally up the number of engagements, say video views and likes and comments and things like that, and divide it by the number of followers, or divide it by, you won't have be able to see their reach, but you can do a rough kind of estimate in terms of turning it into a percentage to see what kind of engagement they're getting. Doing that kind of reconnaissance and getting a bit of a feel for how your customers are going really does inform you around what platform works well and doesn't in your particular industry or niche, right? So that also means, as part of that, is looking at the content that they're using and which ones get the best engagement, and really use it to understand how you're going to do it better or slightly differently based on whatever your particular positioning is in the marketplace. So dissect the format being, is it an image, is it a content post, is it a video, is it a slide pack, whatever the format might be, and what topics are they talking about, when are they posting, frequency. It's okay to work and follow your competitors to really start to understand what's working and what's not for them, okay? There's lots to be learned as part of that. The other thing that I would also urge some of you to do, if some of you are more advanced or have a more mature business, then you've probably got Google Analytics set up on your website. And if you jump into there, under the acquisitions report, you can actually drill down and see exactly what traffic is coming from where based on our social media. So based on what you're already doing, if you're kind of trying to backtrack, you've been doing a whole lot of stuff and you want to backtrack and see kind of, let's start over and really get some strategy and framework around this, then your analytics could inform something as well. Just saying, there's stats in there. And then finally, this is my all-time favorite tool for doing content research and platform research around particular industries and businesses, and it's called BuzzSumo. It is a paid tool, but there is a free, but you can use it for free, like you get a kind of a truncated report list. But what it does is you type in your topic, whatever your particular business might be. Let's just say it's what might be a topic. Let's just say your business is all about environmental house. I'm going to say, let's go with sustainability in a household, like energy efficiency. So you type in energy efficiency in homes, and then what BuzzSumo does is it surfaces all of this, what is the most popular content from a social media perspective across all of the channels. So it actually tells you Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's actually guiding you to not only tell you which channel might be preferred for a particular topic, but it's also informing you around, well, what is really popular content? And then looking at that and really understanding how you might draw insights around what content you will do. Remember what I was saying right at the top? It starts with content, but if the content isn't good and engaging and grabbing people's attention, you're kind of not out of the gate. Content is a no-brainer. Great content is what gets you traction. But BuzzSumo allows you to kind of really do proper research and get your head around that. Now, as I said, it is a paid tool. It's very expensive, but there is a 30-day free trial. And so I would urge you, like, if you're going to do this, then, you know, use the free trial, cancel before it gets to it, but do spend the time doing the research. Easy as, and it's kind of well worth it. Okay. Getting set up. Let's kind of keep moving. Getting set up. So you do need to, once you know which social media flavor or channel is yours, you do really want to kind of think about having a consistent presence that's unique to your brand. So it might be that you decide, you know, you've got to be on LinkedIn and you've got to be on Facebook, then make sure that those profiles are properly optimized. You're making the most of them, okay? And it's really consistent. You also want to kind of think about things like logos and colors and voice and all of those types of things. I've got a list of these in the next slide, by the way. But these are really important to make sure that you're also consistent across platforms. There's nothing worse from going from platform to platform and people can't kind of, they get mixed messages. You want to be really consistent and make use of all of that. when you have chosen your platform, really understand all of the capabilities of it. So for example, just as examples, Instagram and Facebook allow you to tag, like set up your products if you've got physical products, and then you can be tagging these images when you're posting them, versus perhaps it's Facebook and getting people to book in to appointments, or maybe you're a restaurant and you want to point them through to, you know, booking into for dinner or something along those lines. Really see what the core call to actions are. So remember, coming back to why would you bother using social media as a business, be really clear on that, and then look for those call to actions: shopping, appointments, all of those types of things, making a phone call. You also want to think about your brand and really having a unique presence in terms of, you know, people see your content and they know, oh yeah, that's you, right? So it's worth getting some content set up as templates, to like, one, so you're not reinventing the wheel every time. You can waste a lot of time creating content. If you get templates, like different types of templates created for your brand, then it really makes it consistent in terms of that look and feel, the logo. You're not looking like a dog's breakfast because you've done it this way and then that way. You can actually go out and buy like template packs. My other favorite thing to do is just set them up in Canva, or engage a graphic designer to create a series of templates for you in Canva, and then you're just copying and pasting. It's making it really quick and easy and streamlining it, because remember I said social media is a time sap, so you want to kind of be aware of that. The other thing is really just set some standards around what does your business sound like? Are you casual? Casual and warm and friendly, or you're a little bit more formal? Really set that up in terms of, do you use emojis? Do you use slang? Do you use all of those types of things? It's probably overkill for today if it's just you and you're getting started with this, but eventually when you start to, or if you've got a team of people that are going to be doing this, that's when this type of stuff gets really important in terms of consistency. Okay, let's talk about content. Of course, content is, you know, it's hard to get it right, but once you find a formula that's working really well for you, then you're home and hosed. But you do need to put time and effort into that. So you do need to kind of really have a clear understanding of where this is going to go. Where you can actually buy templates for Canva. Do you know average costs for someone to set up? Leah, do you know what? I don't, off the top of my head, there are sites out there. If you just went looking, if you just Googled social media templates, like buy social media templates, you'll get a plethora of sites up there. And you can even, Canva actually has a whole heap of templates on board. There are a heap that are available for free. What it doesn't have is that consistent look and feel that you might be looking for. I would just suggest, Leah, that you go for it. And from what I'm seeing, I'm going to say you can get them anywhere from 50 to, you know, $100. You don't have to pay a lot for them. But honestly, even if you decide to go down the graphic design route, when I generally do this, like with the graphic designer of my choice, it usually doesn't cost me much more than, I'm going to say, $250 to $300 to get maybe, you know, 4 or 5 different templates created in Canva. So, you know, it can be really cost effective with that. If we get time at the end, I'll go Googling for it, Leah. Okay, content creation. So there are 2 things that we're going to talk about. Well, 2 things for you to think about when you're thinking about content. One, creating the content, like original content, which might be writing a post, taking a photograph, shooting videos, designing infographics. Yeah, Leah, I would... so Leah's just asking around Canva as a paid member. Yeah, I would actually... in that case, I would go and find just someone you can either, well, I'm happy to pass on my graphic designer's details, but a lot of graphic designers now understand that this is kind of, you know, one of the things that people ask for. You're looking for templates, but you could even just go to Fiverr or Airtasker. There are lots of graphic designers out there. You just have to be clear with the brief and kind of, you know, you then get to pick and choose around the pricing and what they're offering up. So that's how I would kind of go about doing that. Put yourself out there, get some quotes, and then kind of proceed from there. Just be clear on, you know, the brief. What is it that you want them to do? Okay, so creating content. So you can be creating the content, or you can Snapper and Placket. Okay, John, thank you very much. There's a couple of places there. I don't recognize either of those. I can't think of the place that I generally go and have a look at, but honestly, there's just dozens of them. So let's just crowdsource the answers. Right, curation. Curation is really important, right? Because sometimes you're creating content, but sometimes you're actually sharing content from other people. And that can just be because you're collaborating with them, or it could just be that someone has written something that you really think is important, or you have a point of view, or you think that your followers would be interested in. This happens quite often in LinkedIn, for example. There will be a thought leadership piece published somewhere, someone will share it, and then there'll be a conversation that will then ensue, right? Curating is just as valid as creation, generally speaking, depending on the platform. There might be a little bit of both, okay? Now, creating content starts with mapping out the topics that are relevant to your brand and your audience's interests. Now, there's so much in that. Like, we have literally a dedicated 3-hour workshop to creating a content plan. You can go and find that content online that's already been recorded. But let me just try and unpick this in 60 seconds, which is you really do need to understand what do you talk about in social media and what is of interest to your audience. So it's kind of like, I call it the intersection. It's kind of, imagine kind of, you know, you've got a big kind of circle here, everything you talk about, and over here it's everything your audience or your customers are interested in. What's the intersection there, right? That's the kind of visual that I should have put that visual in there. Anyway, this is an example, right? If you're doing social media for a restaurant, your content themes might be weekly specials, new dishes, seasonal ingredients, staff introductions, local news. Get the idea. What are those themes that are going to be relevant? So that, again, I come back to a little bit of planning and a little bit of framework and structure literally takes it away from trying to reinvent the wheel every time you sit down to do a post. You know, like people that do it in the moment every single day instead of really knowing what they're doing, and they're pre-scheduled. I don't know how they do it. You know, I don't know how you get consistency with that. It's just making life hard, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm suggesting that you do a little bit of reconnaissance. If you've gone and done some research already using BuzzSumo, you've looked at your competitors, you've already started to kind of really digest what kind of content is out there, and then even fueling new ideas around what might be different and really engaging from your own perspective. And then I'm going to say this is where you get to then mix it up. When you kind of know what you're going to talk about, you can do image posts, you can do video posts, it could be live video or pre-recorded text posts, polls, questions, audio snippets, influencer content, user-generated content. See what I'm saying? You don't probably want to have just one, although you might find that actually as part of your strategy, and I have businesses that do this, they post once a week and it's one very good post, but it can be sometimes a article that they've done, it can be a video that they've done, but a lot of thought goes into the one post. Depends on the channel, okay? Or you can have others that, you know, they've got to post every single day. You know, online e-commerce and retailers, you know, they're posting multiple times a day to really kind of, you know, get in front of people. So I'm going to say different strokes for different folks, people, but keeping that, mixing it up and all the rest of it, that's where you kind of take all of those topics and then work out how does this all fit together. And it's okay to experiment. Don't worry about getting it right to start with, even just starting with one, nailing it, and then moving on to the next thing. This is my words of wisdom here, is really think about this. People don't have short attention spans. They do. Honestly, the fact that there are, you know, streaming platforms where people just binge an entire series in one sitting, hello, that's a good attention span. The fact is, if your content is not interesting, then it has an interesting, it has a short, interesting span. See the difference here? It's really important that you put time and attention into content, okay? Right, a few words around images. Images are worth 1,000 words. Wordy images can get penalized. So this specifically works in the Facebook, Instagram, world if you're doing kind of paid promotional advertising, like no more than 25% of the image can have words on it. But do think about what are the images that you're going to need for your business. If you are a retailer, product photos are so important, right? Branded graphics, if you're more of a thought leader and how you're putting forward your ideas is also really important. Building relationships and kind of connecting with people that know you, behind the scenes shots of your team, kind of really bringing the personality to the fore in terms of how you do your business, the kind of people that you are. You can curate a variety of different images from stock, influencer photos, using user-generated content. User-generated content, I'll just explain, is where your customers actually post about your product, or they post a picture of them in your clothes, or you're using your product, or whatever that might be. But you can share that back into your own feed. That can be part of images created, etc., etc. And then, of course, so that's just straight up images. But then a lot of the platforms now, like one does it and they all just follow suit now. Is there any originality left in the social media world? I wonder. Anyway, they've all got stories now. Stories being the vertical format that tend to be, the rules are generally that it is ephemeral in terms of it's temporary, lasts for 24 hours. But they can be used to create important highlights. So this is done really well in the Instagram world, where people kind of create highlights as part of their profile. But you can use a combination of images and videos, or one or the other, and you can stitch them together so that they kind of flip, 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 and you're telling a story, or you're doing an instructional kind of educational piece, whatever kind of rocks your boat in terms of suiting your business best, okay? Understanding the type of content, and then the various formats available to you, okay? Video is so important nowadays, because there is actually a preference. There's a strong preference in terms of just behavior. The data tells us people prefer to consume content than necessarily reading detailed, long content. That's not to say it doesn't have a place, but pre-recorded or live video, talking heads with images and text over the top of it, using it to educate, to entertain, to inform, looking at how you can take a longer form video and then repurposing it into short form video. That might be that you're on YouTube and then on Facebook, like maybe there's a combination there. But video is pretty important in terms of, I really like to work with video as a starting point. You kind of do one really great thought leadership piece in video, and then that gets unpicked into lots of different pieces of content that then kind of, drip fed into your socials, so to speak. Video is super important. Not to mention, again, you'll want to dive into specific channel content workshops that are recorded online after this, when you know which is your preferred social media flavor. But some channels really do favor video over other forms of content, particularly live video. That's very much the case in Facebook land, Instagram. I'm going to say it's the same in LinkedIn as well. Other form of contents, just to kind of, give you a complete list: infographics, how-to guides, Q&A posts, surveys, etc., etc. Okay. I'm going to get into, I'm conscious of time. I want to get into the individual platforms and do a run through of those. However, before we go anywhere, I've talked about channel selection. I've talked about content. Without engagement, your content is nothing. As in, people need to see your content. They need to then stop and pause and engage with it. Engagement is everything. The algorithms that rule our world, right, in terms of social media and search and all the rest of it, they determine based on engagement. It's a really important factor as to how many people they will show your piece of content to. It's a really complex topic. I'm not going to get into it, but engagement is an important piece. It's an important puzzle to the piece of the puzzle to the overall, will your social media marketing work for you? So I kind of give this kind of thought to people to really think about social as, if you were just out and about doing networking with people, like, regularly going out every week to a lunchtime or breakfast meeting or something like that, and you're just having conversation. Like, what's the breadth of conversations that you're having? How are you engaging with people? Think about social media, your chosen platform, and how would you engage if it was just your regular networking activity? You'd go and check out what people are doing and kind of have conversations. Oh, that's really interesting. And you'd kind of maybe even share it, or you might comment on it. Like, that is engagement, right? It's never just about you. It's also about other people's content, because people see it and they appreciate it. And this is what engagement looks like: following, commenting, sharing, liking, conversations via messaging, shout outs, which is tagging customers and connections, user-generated content, collaborating with other businesses where there's a synergy between the two of you, right? These are the things that kind of work. When you know what this looks like, I quite often I have a diary that I give to people, but and actually have a template as well, but I actually get them to work out what's their engagement strategy, and then it gets kind of written out, and then every week they have to go back and they have to kind of check it off. Okay, I've done that. It's a job, right? You know, every Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I sit down and I spend 20 minutes over a nice cup of coffee, scrolling through LinkedIn and engaging and sending some messages to people, etc., etc. That's a light version of what, you know, you can be doing, but you get my drift, don't you? Okay, let's get into platforms. How are you guys doing? You're being very silent. Am I kind of shocking you into, hopefully it's useful information. I want to run through the platforms. We've only got 20 minutes left, so let's see how we go. What I've tried to do here is, we used to have a number of really detailed slides on this. What I really wanted to do is condense this down into what's the general flavor of each of these platforms. What's it great for? What's the challenge? And what's the basic profiles, and where to kind of direct your thinking in terms of how to get this platform to work best for you, right? This is the format I've tried to tease out. So let's start with Facebook. Facebook the omnipotent, right? So more females than males, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. You can see it seems like there's all age groups are on Facebook. In my mind, younger demographics use it in a very different way to how older demographics use it. Get to know your audience in that place. What is really great about Facebook is it is the place to go if you are really thinking about building community, because groups rule in Facebook, and they have been really upfront about that. So if you've got a business, or you operate in a niche area where you're kind of really able to get down and talk about a particular type of problem, creating a community around that, or even finding existing communities and engaging and being a really good participant, like community member in other groups, can be just as healthy and good for as part of your marketing strategy as having your own. But really, that's where it's at, as well as local events. So Facebook came out. Actually, it wasn't, I was going to say it last year. It was not last year, but just before the pandemic hit, they came out with with this keynote, which was basically saying we're about connecting the offline world with the online world. And this is really getting to local events and things that are going on in your area, and really surfacing those with people in their environment. So I'm just kind of saying, think community, and that's how you're going to kind of really get the most out of it. The challenge with Facebook is, I'm telling you now, low organic reach. A Facebook page is hard to get traction from by just putting out content. Even if it's great content, it's going to be hard to get traction. So sometimes people kind of, if they're not going down the community route, they'll go down the great content route, but there's paid promotion sitting behind it to kind of get the reach that they need. So in terms of making Facebook work, video, like, you know, live video, canned video, whatever it is, people love to engage on Messenger as well. So kind of setting that up and having that as a key call to action, and images, obviously. Okay, this slide here is not meant to do anything other than, if you happen to want to go and really think about Facebook, I've just listed from 1 to 10 the top accounts on Facebook, but I've given you an example. The Kindness Pandemic is a group. It was started, I think, in May last year, and already it's at 500,000 members, and it's gone global. If you want to see what a really great group, a community can do, this is a great example to go and investigate. So for each of the platforms, I wanted to give you a kind of an example of to be pursuing. Okay, let's talk about Instagram. Gosh, am I going to get through this in 15 minutes? Instagram, right. We've got the demographics there. You can go and have a look at these yourself. But this is what is Instagram really great for. So visual, it's very good for visual brands. It is really good for making connections as well, particularly around stories and messaging and things like that. I'm telling you now, Instagram have actually, in fact, 2 weeks ago came out and said, we are no longer an image sharing platform. We are a shopping and community platform. I'm telling you, it's all about shopping, right? Instagram, Facebook, not into shopping. Instagram is where, if you've got products to sell, that's where you want to be. The challenges, you really do have to be creative in order to try and, you know, get some traction. And it does have declining reach, okay? And in fact, I haven't seen growth on that platform, particularly in Australian numbers, for I'm going to say 18 months, a good 18 months. It's kind of plateaued at 9 million. Thinking, what do you need to think about? Stories. These are the sweet spots, stories and reels, particularly using video, collaborations, working with others, and images. It's collaboration, 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 I'm telling you now. You can see here, stories, the feed, reels, shopping, IGTV. They're ballsy on shopping and video, and stories and reels kind of hook into that with your IGTV. These are your top accounts here. If you are interested in looking at a really great account that has really mastered Instagram, this is a retail store. It's based in Orange, New South Wales, country New South Wales, but they do collaborations amazingly well. They get the visuals right, they get the styling right, and they get the collaborations right. And they've just done it really consistently over a number of years. Okay, great account to go and have a look at. Right, Twitter. What's Twitter good for? Twitter is just so misunderstood by a lot of people. Yes, it's a bit of a cesspool, you know, in terms of we know how it can be misused, but it's about in the moment stuff, right? It really is about in the moment because it's dominated by news and PR people connecting with influencers and thought leaders, right? So depending on your business, that may well be an excellent fit for you, particularly if you're in the tech industry. It's got a big presence there. So to use Twitter very well, you do need to think about, I should have put in the moment first, didn't fit under my graphic. Hashtags are really important in terms of trending topics. In the moment, as in pre-scheduling a whole lot of content out, you know, 3 months is not going to work here. It's about actually, you know, chiming into the conversations as they're unfolding. Twitter lists and chats are a really good way to kind of, you know, start to build community, like kind of like it's another version of groups. And it's about engage, like go out and connect with people and follow their content and engage with their content, etc., etc. The challenge of Twitter is it's a short lifespan of the post, literally as in minutes. That means you have to be really consistent and spending a lot of time on Twitter to really get traction out of it. Oh, I just put this in as a bit of a framework, particularly for those businesses that are more kind of B2B service oriented. Really think about these 3 things, which is really good content that's meaningful, that really does offer up authentic helpfulness, but helpfulness can be just in the form of the way that you engage with people and respond to comments and things like that, and making sure that you're actively reaching out and targeting the people that you want to connect with and follow. Okay, here's your list of. Aren't we pleased to see him down there and him up there? Sorry, I shouldn't say politics in here. And here's a couple of examples of different kinds of businesses that use Twitter quite well, I think. Okay, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very good for B2B, lead generation, building reputation. The challenge of LinkedIn is that the users are not so active. So they're not on it all the time, you know, kind of the average use time is way down. But it is very good about fostering and nurturing connections, existing connections, people that you know in your network, as well as establishing yourself as a thought leadership with unique content. And you can also be kind of tapping into that thought leadership piece just by curating content as in that you've got. And again, you've got to engage regularly with it. I'm not going to go through those stats because, you know, they're there and you'll make up your own mind. I think it's more about industries and types of businesses. Here are some good accounts to have a look at, the top 10 of them in terms of size that is. If you wanted to go and check out a person and follow her, she has, I reckon this woman here, she has a company called Inventium. They do work in the innovation area. She has just literally LinkedIn is her sweet spot. She's got a huge following and she uses it very effectively. So a great account to just kind of go and scope how it might be done well. Right, let's talk about Pinterest. Pinterest is very good for driving traffic to a blog, and it's also very good for e-commerce retailers. I'm going to say Pinterest is more of a search platform than a social platform, but it does get grouped in here. The challenge is you've got to kind of, you know, have custom images, but you can take one blog, right, and then you can have 5 different images and post them at different times. Like, so you can repurpose content in a number of different ways with different positioning around it. But it is about images, videos, and I've put this in here because Pinterest is very much around behavior of people planning a project. So it is binging on projects. So it's help and ideas and how-tos and inspiration. So it's recipe ideas and it's renovation ideas and it's styling and clothing and trend ideas. Like, people use it and kind of curate boards of collected photos. It's one of the few platforms that has a long tail, as in most social media platforms, when we post, we kind of get an initial piece of interaction and then it just drops off to zero, right? It disappears into the ether. Pinterest is a really slow start and builds over time as your pins get saved more and more and more. So again, depending on your business, thinking about projects and how you hook into that, it can actually be, from a niched audience perspective, very good for you. Has a really small footprint in Australia, but if you're kind of got a business that actually has more of a global audience, it could actually be a real good sweet spot for you. Okay, I've done something different here, because we don't necessarily, it's not so much about following accounts on Pinterest, although people do, you can. But what they do is there's a whole lot of seasonality and trending topics. So I've just taken this from what was trending last year in 2020. I think this is hilarious. I love this list. It's kind of things like, for example, who would have known that last year it was 90s reruns, and they were the things that were being kind of trending as part of our, pandemic year. And Pampered Peps, like, you can kind of see this. They release this every year, actually, but you can easily get on, and there's a whole lot of stuff around kind of that seasonality and what should you be posting when on the Pinterest kind of roller coaster, so to speak. Okay, bearing in mind, binging and searching for particular content that matches a particular theme. Okay, right, let's talk about TikTok. So I've thrown TikTok in just because it kind of has such a big kind of presence, even though it's got a really small footprint in Australia. If you happen to have a business where you're trying to target under 30s, you really do need to have a think about whether or not TikTok is the place for you. You really do need to be creative with it, because it is all about challenges and fun content, education. Everyone's got to kind of do the pointing and the dancing and all the rest of it. But, if that's where your audience is and it's a really good fit for your content, you need to go there. So I'm just going to say, don't discount it. It's something to be considered. I've given you the top accounts here to be following, and I thought that this is a really great example of Taylor Price. She's doing exactly this, right? She's educating on a particular topic, kind of just skipping through things to be educating people on. There's a couple of other accounts out there. They're not necessarily businesses, which is why I didn't put them in there. But Money Planet, it's a podcast out of the US, like kind of not-for-profit podcast around economic things. They do great educational content if you wanted to kind of see how that might do. NASA is on TikTok, also doing some really good things. National Geographic does some really good things. Actually, all of those accounts that I just mentioned, if you're really wanting to kind of see how you might do different kinds of content that's not quite so light, work for TikTok, and they work for Snapchat, right? Snapchat still has a pretty good penetration. It's actually going to grab, this audience is going to mature with it. So I think that they'll, the pundits say they will continue to use Snapchat for the next 10 years, right? So what's it great for? Building connections and awareness. It's kind of not dissimilar to TikTok is how I would think about it. It is time and resource intensive. It is about kind of getting creative, images, video, light and fun and entertaining. So kind of a bit of the same, but there is a slightly different demographic attached to both of those platforms, okay? Snapchat also has more affordable, like you can access paid promotion or advertising on Snapchat that you can't access on TikTok yet as well. Okay, neither of them, can I just say, neither of them are that great for driving traffic through to your website. So be really clear on your objectives and how you want to go about that. The last channel I'm throwing in here is YouTube. So again, is it a social media platform or not? It does have social elements in it, which is why I'm throwing it in here. But it also, it's kind of primarily search as well. The thing about YouTube is it's very good for solving problems with how-to tutorials. So it can be very time and resource intensive as a challenge in terms of creating the content. But if you're optimizing it for search and then you're getting people to engage with the content with, you know, making comments and things like that, it can be a very good platform, depending on what it is that your business happens to be. So again, thinking through that, what are the, you know, do you have how-tos in terms of solving problems for you, or using products and things like that, demoing? Who's searching for what questions that you can answer? That's the sweet spot here with YouTube. So in fact, from that perspective, if you can really dial in and start answering questions that people are asking and actively searching for on YouTube, that's when you start to grow a following, because people want to dial in and see, you know, and to consume your content because you're being useful to them. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. Okay, here are the top YouTube accounts. And if you really wanted to go and check out a business that I think almost solely, wasn't solely, as a social channel that they used very effectively as part of growing their business, it is this guy here, Rand Fishkin, I think it is, of Moz, right? He just does, he started out doing Whiteboard Fridays, and so he'd kind of draw this stuff on the whiteboard and then he'd just talk to it, and people loved it. Educational content, asking and answering questions that people were asking, and they really built a strong following for it, drove a lot of traffic through to their website, and built a big business out of it as a result. Okay, so almost to the end. This is where we get into audience participation time. So I'm just going to run through, I've got a couple of slides left, and they're just with some tools to be using around different aspects of social media. I really would love if you guys have got preferred tools or tools that you think are really great to throw them into the comments as we're going through. Images, like it's really useful to be able to create images, like particularly if you can set up templates and then just be, you know, copying, like, you know, duplicating and creating your complex content as you go along. Canva is excellent for that, right? It just has a range of everything that you need. So Canva is, I also like Canva because it's desktop as well as mobile app, but there are other apps out there like image creation tools that are just as strong or better in the mobile app environment. The only thing I'm going to say is just be careful that people use those because they're doing a lot of in-the-moment stuff. They're not kind of scheduling forward. And I'd be urging everyone, when you've kind of got your head around what you're doing, try not to be doing this in the moment, because that's when people get frustrated with the fact that, oh my God, I'm spending half my day just to do this, and it's not really showing the, you know, dividends from it. You need to be kind of efficient with your process around this. So really kind of think about how you're creating images. But if anyone happens to have some great apps or tools that they prefer for creating images, just put them into the comment box so that everyone can kind of share your favorite. Please go ahead. Unsplash and Pixabay are my picks for stock shots, and they've got the, you know, they're free images under the Creative Commons license, which means that you can use them as you like in social media. No one's going to tell me their favorites. I quite like Adobe Spark, but I reckon there are much better ones out there. What else have I got on here on my machine at the moment? What am I using? I'm telling you, I've just got millions. I really like, I quite like Enlight for putting special effects on images. Canva, Planoly, Snapsheet, WordSwag. Is that WordSwag or Wods? I think it's WordSwag, right? Excellent. Thanks, Leah. Okay, video. What are my picks in terms of useful tools for doing video? OBS and Wirecast, they're two different programs, but they're good for streaming to multiple platforms at once from one source. So it means that you can do a live broadcast and be broadcasting to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, right? That's what they allow you to do. Also allows you to capture them and then kind of repurpose them. Canva is actually really good for doing stills and video as well. those capabilities are there. And my favorite in terms of other apps is InVideo and Animoto for doing different types of video pre-canned. Later, for reducing size of images, I use Tiny PNG. Yep, I use that as well. Excellent. Scheduling and monitoring, okay? So this is what I was kind of saying. Get your content sorted and then start to get ahead of yourself. Like, it's not wrong to do it in the moment. I'm just saying you've got to be kind to yourself and know that you've got to, life gets in the way. So if you rely on turning up every day to do your social media, you might kind of fall over occasionally. Hootsuite, I've put Hootsuite and Buffer, actually. I put these first three in there, Hootsuite, Facebook, and Buffer as scheduling tools, because there are free versions for you to get your head around and to use while you're getting started. And they're pretty good for what they are. Different strokes for different folks. I'm going to say, in terms of, I've just started playing with Agora Pulse as a scheduler, which has a free version in it, which is not turning out to be not too bad. I also use Later. I also use Planoly. So there's just dozens of these different types of scheduling tools out there. I think the key is, this is my handy hint to you. Not all scheduling tools are equal. Some are definitely better than others, and they're better than others when it comes to specific platforms. Okay, so for example, Hootsuite and Buffer, they're really not very good if you're really strong on Instagram, whereas Planoly and Later are far stronger and give you much more capability if that is your chosen social media platform. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that scheduling and monitoring tools really have platform strengths, and you should investigate those. Okay. Oh, great. Thanks, Reese. Confirm that OBS allows you to do a live video and it will go to different. That's correct, Leah. That's exactly what it does. It allows you to do one broadcast and to have it go into multiple different places. Streamlabs. Is Streamlabs different to OBS? Does Leah? OBS is not quite so user-friendly as Wirecast, but Wirecast costs money. Anyway, we did it. Oh my goodness, I'm a minute over. I'm so sorry, guys. But are there any questions as we finish up? And Francisco, could you put the link to the survey? We're starting to do express 1 hour workshops now instead of the traditional 2 hours or 3 hours. So any feedback that you have around good, bad, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, would be really appreciated. Francisco's just posted the link up the top there for you. And I guess we're over time, but I'm happy to take 1 or 2 questions if you want to stick around and have a look. Have a slobs. I love that. Love a good acronym. Okay. Thanks, Gemma. Any questions? We'll I'll just stick around for a minute to see if anyone has anything. Slide packs are being sent out to you. The recording is being sent out to you. Thanks, Catherine. Hope you're doing well. What else? No questions? Well, okay. Very good. Thanks, everyone, for rocking up. We got 27, so I lost the bet, everyone. Not bad out of a what was potentially a big room. Very good, everyone. Have a fabulous week. It seems like Tuesday is a winner for people to come along to workshops. So hopefully I'll be seeing you again very soon. Take care, and I'm going to finish up now. See you later, everybody.